Welcome back to Parlays and Paddles episode 2. I'm your host, Alec, joined by my co-host here, Matty Cush. Say what up, Matty.
How's it going, everyone? We're just getting off the hangover of March Madness by watching games 4 days in a row. Monday was a struggle. We're taping this on Tuesday. I'm already looking forward to the next round of games, Al.
Yeah, me too, man. And it feels good to have episode 1 up, a little proof of concept, get the pilot, get the episode up and on the air, and get now into more of a flow state with all this. So thanks for joining us, guys. Thanks for being back. And we're excited to talk more basketball, fishing, and smoking some meat today.
I'm excited for this. Absolutely. I'm a little bit tired today, Al. Been getting my rucks in. We got what's the model called that we both bought? The Atlas 3000 or something?
It's like the Atlas Trainer. You can find them. They're made by outdoorsmen. They're pretty much a backpacking backpack that you can put plates on, and it's really good cardio. So if you're looking for a good way to sneak in cardio, burn extra calories, check them out. Not sponsored, but
yeah, no free sponsors, I guess. But I mean, I love it. So yeah. I'm a little bit fatigued, but feel good, feel ready to go.
That's awesome, man. I've been fatigued all day. This is probably my 8th cup of coffee that I got going. So I'm in that weird zone that's a mix between like tired but jittery, little tweaked from the coffee, but overall exhausted. So
perfect recording zone.
I think that's the sweet spot.
All right.
Yeah, I think we can jump right in. Let's talk a little bit about the first couple rounds. Yeah, what was kind of your couple impressions from those first couple rounds? I mean, it was still pretty chalky, but there was a little bit of craziness that went on.
Yeah, so if you want to go in order, I think maybe you should start with the High Point, I believe.
Yeah.
First.
I can talk High Point.
Yeah, you talk High Point.
High Point beat Wisconsin, as you all know. I think that was most people's big bracket buster. I don't think anyone saw that one coming. I think everyone was expecting. You saw that coming?
Did had it on a bracket.
You had
one of my 4 brackets.
I was gonna say, unless you had it in all 4 or 4,
no,
I don't know if we
brackets.
can really count that. I threw some shit at the wall and saw what stuck too. But hey, I'll give it to you.
I still took it.
I'll give it to you. Yeah, I think everyone was looking forward to a Wisconsin-Arkansas round of 32, which obviously didn't happen. But props to High Point. I mean, Chase Johnston scoring that layup, technical game winner. I think that was awesome. He's known for that 3 ball.
It was his first 2-point field goal in the season, I believe.
Yeah.
Crazy. He couldn't miss. The hoop was this size. He was throwing them up. Like, he couldn't miss. It was very fun to watch. It was like old school March Madness. We didn't see those upsets last year.
And it's always good to have that one shooter that can really hit those 3-pointers like
a
Jack Golke.
And I take that back because Jack Golke was that last year. So I do take that back.
2 years ago. 2 years ago.
He was 2 years?
I think he was in
Okay, so I'm right.
No, yeah, 2 years ago, Jack Golke. Everyone likes that underdog team that at least has one 3-point shooter that can keep them in the game.
Years
so
are merging together.
I didn't watch that full game, but what I did see multiple times is that highlight where the announcer was like, Johnston from a mile out and is good, and I just
it's from the logo, man.
Yeah, it's from the logo.
And
speaking of that, I know, just moving on a little bit, I'm surprised they didn't give him more opportunities to close the gap against Arkansas in round of 32.
Well, he was missing.
Was he out of the game?
No, he was missing the shots.
Oh.
He did have chances.
I was going to say, I thought I saw him in there.
No, some of those ones that he hit against Wisconsin, he didn't hit against Arkansas.
Cold.
It also helps that Arkansas was on as well. They made it close. They still made it close, and then Arkansas kind of pulled away.
Yeah, there's that pattern that is between good teams and bad teams where it seems close, at least through the first half and maybe through the second half of the second half, or the first half of the second half, and then the stronger team, the higher ranked seed, then pulls away, and that's what happened. But hey, Arkansas is still alive, which I still have as my championship winner.
Tip of the cap to Darius Acuff.
Yeah, Darius Acuff. Yeah, he's our dad.
He's
so
our man.
But
I'll take it. I'll take the
here.
reins. Friday was a very painful morning for me. Santa Clara and Kentucky, I believe, was the first game.
Yes, it was.
I was sitting in your living room while you were wrapping up some work stuff. I was watching most of the game alone, and it was so exciting for the Broncos. I wanted them so bad to pull it out.
For the record, I was upstairs working, and Matt was downstairs watching the game, and I keep hearing him talk to himself like, yeah, go back, good basket, go Santa Clara, or like, come on, play your defense. And I'm sitting up here working like, damn, I wish I could be. I mean, I could always have it up in the background.
I probably could have been a little quieter too. Since
no, you weren't distracting me. I just wish I was watching it with you, but it seemed like a good game. I did watch, obviously, the ending of that.
Yeah, you came down and joined me for the last 2 minutes, and when Santa Clara hit that three with 2 seconds left, I believe, I was like, we have it. And then I think all of Santa Clara across the nation thought we had it in that moment. You can see a ton of live reactions. I wish I live reacted to it. I don't know why I didn't. But it was, oh. Yeah. And then 2 seconds left. That guy puts up the three. Our coach is going down the sideline. Timeout, timeout, timeout. The ref didn't see us.
Yeah.
And then he hits the three, and we go into overtime, and I was like,
I do agree with you. Game. I think the coach got the timeout off in time. I do say that that's going to be a hard call to get. You know, I think the refs maybe should have been expecting it because that's like a common call in that scenario to get the timeout there and reset the defense.
Yeah.
So maybe it's on the refs for not like kind of anticipating that,
or maybe a little bit on the coach for not doing it sooner because he did it a little. He did it
late. Like as he was inbounding, kind of. And
well, he was still a fair timeout. Like he would have gotten it if the ref had seen it, but the ref had already started looking towards the players who were running down the court trying to get the ball or inbound. Mm-hmm. It was just bad luck. And again, the reaction videos are hilarious. I was bummed out. I'm proud of the Broncos. First bracket or a March Madness appearance since, I think
this is your alma mater.
Yeah, 1990 or something. It's been 30 years.
Yeah. I know this was a big game for you.
Big game, and I'm glad it was competitive. You know, we had a chance. We were in there. We should have won in regulation. We just needed to win in regulation.
I had Kentucky money line, so I was trying to be sad for Matt and happy for myself at the same time. So that was a little bit, that was a gray zone for me.
Well, that's Matty 0-1. That's Santa Clara, which sucks, but it is what it is.
Hey, though, I think just in terms of the spirit of March Madness, anytime you can get not only one quote-unquote buzzer beater, but two back-to-back, I just love the excitement of the game. So I am bummed for you that Santa Clara lost. I am stoked to see a clip like that come out of this year's tournament so far with the buzzer beater to the buzzer beater. And, hey, that was a hell of a shot by, was it Owe on Kentucky?
Yep. Yeah,
so,
it was a hell of a shot. In the moment, lights are bright. I mean,
that's all you can ask for.
Oh, yeah, this is March.
What else did we like out of those first two games?
2 rounds.
Yeah, those first 2 rounds. Moving on, I think you and I both had Vanderbilt over Nebraska.
We did.
Which was another close game, another potential buzzer beater. I feel so bad for Tyler Tanner.
Tyler Tanner.
Yeah, even the Nebraska coach said it hit the square right in the middle of that backboard. Mm-hmm. It looked like it was good. It went in, it went out. It was devastating.
There was some like weird story about over or under inflated balls.
I saw that.
Made it maybe bounce. I don't know which one makes it bounce out. I would imagine it's underinflated balls.
I think overinflated would make it bounce out because there's more pressure, so it hits.
Whatever it was, there's some discussion where it's like if that was the other way around, that might have gone in.
Hey, I'm not, as a Patriots fan, I'm not talking about over or underinflated balls around you.
Yeah, fair enough. Touchy subject. Too soon. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've been battling those allegations for a while now. So
whatever. Tom Brady's a goat. You had plenty of good years.
But I will say, me and Matt had, we throw some crazy lays out there, and we both had a 7-leg parlay that came down to Vandy money line, which unfortunately busted us on a 7-legger, which was heartbreaking.
Yeah, that would have been a nice pop. Overall, my bracket has been pretty busted. There's been a lot of things that I didn't expect. Teams that have come up to show up, and teams I thought would show up that haven't. So, big one for me, Iowa, Florida. I think Alec was ahead of this. Alec's been high on Iowa for a while.
I have been.
I had Florida in the national championship, winning the national championship in a couple brackets of mine.
Yep.
So not a great Sunday for me either. Sunday.
Some of my rounds of 64 and 32 did bust, but I will say outside of Florida, losing and being out, I am 7 of 8 in the Elite 8 for my Elite 8 picks right now.
Okay,
So
all right,
I'm
all
feeling
right.
good there.
Tail Alec, 1-0, 1-0. I know we're gonna get to the
Yeah, we'll
recaps
do a
and stuff.
pick recap here in a little bit. But I mean, I am feeling pretty good so far with where I stand with most of my bracket picks. Anything more you want to say about Iowa, Florida before we move on?
No, I think Florida hasn't, in my opinion, hasn't really looked like the team they were towards like 3/4 of the season when they crushed Arkansas. I don't think they've looked the same since they beat Arkansas because they lost in the the SEC tournament. They
To
didn't
Vandy.
to Vandy. They didn't look great there. They were like, oh, they're saving their energy for the tournament. Get to the tournament. I mean, 1 seed overtakes the 16, but Iowa was impressive. Like they came to play, and Florida was missing shots.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Did you see that one play? I think it was somewhat towards the beginning of the game where there was the guy, and I should know his name, that hit the game winner for Iowa. They say he, at one point in a jump ball scrum, he punched a Florida player. A lot of people were saying that it should have been a flagrant or an ejection, and it could have
offensive foul of some sort.
something that could have altered the game. I reviewed the clip. It looked like he was punching for the ball. He was going for the ball. It didn't look like a punch towards the player, but there's a little bit of controversy there that people say that play possibly could have had an impact on the end of the game.
Yeah, and Florida did keep it close. I just think a Florida team that's playing their best blows them out by 10 or 20. But Iowa played their best.
Unfortunately, you can say that about any team, though. If any team plays its best, they will win against any other team, right?
Fair enough.
Fair enough. I'll just leave that to rest a little bit. But
fair enough. That's all I got for Iowa, Florida, though. It is what it is, and it's kind of fun to see a number 1 seed go down.
Oh yeah, I was really hoping for not all 1 seeds in the Final Four, which at this point it looks like we're definitely not getting, but it looks like possibly other 1 seeds may not make it there as well, which we'll
get to
cover in the next segment. But the most important part to take away from this is that Arkansas is still alive, and for all the doubters, I still got Arkansas winning the tournament. I think if they can get past Arizona next round, that's probably going to be one of, if not the hardest competition for them. So,
for the record, the bracket that I picked High Point in is the bracket I have Arkansas winning. So
nice,
still alive. I think I
Nice.
was ranked like 50th, and there's like 400 people in this one, so I'm still up there.
Yeah, in that same bracket, I looked today. I think I'm ranked like 82 out of like 405 entries.
Yeah,
so,
in Darius Acuff we trust.
In Darius Acuff we trust, and in Coach Cal. And there's some. I saw some other post today about the attire that the coach is wearing, whether it's a quarter zip, whether it's a polo, whether it's a suit. That there's been some stats pulled out about win losses there, and I will say the suit wearing coaches have a positive record. So I mean that leaves Dan Hurley, just to give you a little forethought, little Dan Hurley in there, and Coach Cal.
Coach Cal, St. John's.
Yep, wearing them suits.
Rick Pitino, St. John's.
It's those old school coaches that kind of have that little bit of class.
Yeah, Tom Izzo is one of those old school coaches that
doesn't he wear the quarter zip?
Yeah, he wears a quarter zip. He's like ready to go, trying to move around.
And I think quarter zips have the worst record out of all the attire wearing coaches. Again, does this really impact the game? Probably not. But do we like to analyze every angle? Sure. But I think it goes suit wearing, polo wearing, and then quarter zip wearing coaches in terms of best record.
Yeah, so remember that when you're placing your Sweet 16 bets.
What is the coach wearing?
What's the coach wearing?
You want to move on to the Sweet 16, man?
Yeah, let's do it.
I think we're good to just talk about all these games, region by region. Next game being, we'll start with the East. It's Michigan State and UConn, as well as Duke versus St. John's. What do you like there? What do you don't like there?
So I love Michigan State personally. I'm a Tom Izzo fan. This is his 17th, I believe, Sweet 16, which is just crazy to me.
It's got to rank up there with most coaches to get to Sweet 16.
He's a Hall of Fame coacher. The other thing I love about him is hearing his players talk about him. He's going to know what's going on in your life. How are you doing? And when it gets to those pressure moments, he's able to speak to you and bring you back down to reality.
Yeah.
So I like Michigan State over UConn here. I'll let you go. We can touch on Duke St. John's.
I was gonna say I agree. I think Michigan State is the better team there. Similar probably to my thoughts last podcast. UConn's not the team that they have been in years past. I think they have high expectations for themselves. I think a lot of people are almost like it's a gimme for them to make it to the Final Four in these recent years. Don't know if that's the case this year. I'm also leaning Michigan State, and it doesn't hurt from a betting standpoint that Michigan State's plus money. So I like Michigan State there. How do you feel about Duke St. John's?
So
the Johnnies.
Yeah. So in all of my
they're not the Johnnies, but that's what I've been calling them, the St. John Johnnies.
in all of my brackets, I have Duke.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna switch though. When you get to this point in the tournament, you look at your bracket. Are you really gonna win? If yes, okay, great. Root for the team that you think is gonna win. The number one Duke still coming to play. St. John's is a fun bet for me though. Like Rick Pitino turning the team around. I don't think it's their year to exactly win it, but this may be the year that they get past Duke. Did you also know Duke's won? I think what was it? The last like 3 or 4 of their championships that they've won, they've beat St. John's in the round of or Sweet 16. You got to fact check me on that.
Yeah, I think you're right there.
It's like every time, that's what it is. Every time Duke has beaten St. John's in the Sweet 16, they have won
the tournament. And they've only coincidentally matched up on the years that they've
like
won.
3 times, and they've won at those.
Every time they've won, they've beaten St. John's.
Yeah.
So you're kind of alluding to the fact that if Duke does beat St. John's, that
something to look for.
They may be on a run to win the game, the title.
But this may be the year St. John's gets past Duke, which would be again awesome for March Madness and this NIL transfer portal environment. So I'm going St. John's. I'm rooting for the underdog. It's not going to be my best bet, that's for sure. But
I'm gonna go against you here. I'm riding with the 1 seed. I do think, obviously some 1 seeds are going to make it to the Final Four. I think Duke has not shown their best games over this, this and even the tournament itself. They've been a little bit weird. They've also had a high amount of players injured. And I think one of the bigger players to return would be Caleb Foster. I think he
is he coming back?
There's a potential. There's a potential for him coming back to the Sweet 16. If they make it to the Elite 8, I think there's almost a pretty high percent chance that he makes it back to the Elite 8 at the very least. But I still like Duke here. Just looking, we watched the St. John's Kansas game, and Kansas made like a 14-2 run at some point in the late second half of the second half.
Yeah,
and they almost came back.
Yeah, Kansas made it competitive. You did make a good point though. Like you expect some number 1 seeds to make it to the Final Four. Mm-hmm. A little bit of a spoiler. I think we don't have one in one or and 2, including Florida, because Florida's already out.
Yeah, the other 1 seeds would be Iowa. No, Iowa State's a 2 seed.
Yeah, they're 2 seed.
But it'd be Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan and Duke. But fair point. You expect the number 1 seed to at least have some presence in the Final Four.
For sure. And I know I did pick ISU in my Final Four for coming out of the Midwest, but with that injury to Jefferson, I don't know if he's returning for Sweet 16 or beyond. I could give it to Duke at this point. Or sorry, Michigan at this point. So
we are kind of doing a little bit of a fast forward. We can keep going through.
Yeah, you want to move to the West?
Yeah. We're going to talk to the viewers after the Elite 8. So we probably should.
After the Elite 8.
Yeah, we probably should talk Elite 8 as well. Okay, sounds good. So we got Michigan State, and he's got Duke. I got St. John's, but we can move on to the next region.
Either way, though, real quick before we depart, we both do have Michigan State making it to
the Final Four.
The Final Four.
Yeah, so. And I think I don't have anything else to say about it. I'm a Tom Izzo fan. I think Michigan State actually matches up against St. John's.
At that point, I know I just said Duke Final Four, 1 seed, blah blah blah. At that point, I think a Duke Michigan game though will be closer and more competitive than a Duke St. John's game. Just in my opinion.
Fair enough.
So we'll see what happens as the tournament progresses.
But coming out of the East, we got Michigan State.
Moving on to the West. Okay, so we have Arizona, Arkansas. I mean, I think this is going to be one of the games of the weekend right here. My take is that and I've said this to you many times, if Arkansas can beat Arizona, I think their odds to win the title jump drastically.
Agreed.
I think a lot of people have Arizona as the title champion, let alone winning in the Sweet 16. So I'm riding Arkansas. That's, again, emotional pick. I like riding a little bit of a dark horse, and in this NIL era, I'd love to see a 4 seed move past the 1 seed, just to keep it a little unchalky, keep it a little wild cardy, if I can say that. So
yeah,
you got a take there?
Yeah, no, I do have a take. Basically, I'm taking Arkansas. We're aligned there. The take I have is the best player potentially that is playing currently in the tournament is going to continue his run. Darius Acuff has played so well in this tournament so far. I think he continues that. I think he leads Arkansas over Arizona. I think it's going to be a great game.
And I think we all know that Arkansas has a defense problem. That's not how they're known to win games. They're known to win games by outscoring teams. They're not known to win games by playing great defense and slowing the pace down. It's for every bucket that the other team scores, they score 1.5, right? Something like that.
Now, if Arkansas plays the way they played against Florida in the regular season, they lose.
Obviously,
they lose for sure.
But they've been hot since.
Arkansas put up 94 against High Point and 97 against Hawaii. If they get their opportunities, they get those buckets.
I think they're
Arizona is going to have to put up points, and
they got to put up 100 to beat them. You know what I mean? And I haven't been tracking what Arizona's been putting up from a game-to-game perspective.
Against Utah State, 78, right? Obviously Long Island, they went off at 92, but
that's a different story.
Big-time defensive game, Arizona may pull it out. We expect Arkansas to just come to play.
I think this Arkansas-Arizona game is one going to come down to Darius Acuff playing his typical game, but I think more so it's going to come down to the players surrounding him also playing their game. Like
Brazil.
Yeah, Trevin Brazil. Is he going to, be their defensive guy? How many blocks is he going to get? Force turnovers? Is he going to come in clutch in the 3-pointers like he did against Vandy in the SEC championship game? Wagner, as well as Billy Richmond III.
Yep.
Ewan had a great game against High Point. I would almost give Ewan, MVP of the High Point game. I think he turned it on defensively and had a lot of those putback, layups that kept us close and pushed us forward towards the end there. So I think in that game, it's going to be Darius Acuff playing his game, but it's going to be everybody else more so playing their game to keep them there. So.
Yeah, agreed. I got nothing. What do you got in Texas, Purdue?
So
is Texas a Cinderella?
So this is a big debate. Is Texas a Cinderella? I think from a seeding standpoint, they're an 11 seed. I mean, gosh, I don't know what would the seed ranking have to be for you to call it a Cinderella if it's not an 11? Yeah,
we talked about this earlier this week. I think I cap it at a 6. I was gonna say 5 or 6, but I think 5 is just on that cuff. Yeah. I don't know. What do you think?
I agree with you. I think we both determined 6. I would almost say 7 as well.
Because 8 is the record. An 8th seed has won the tournament. That's the record. So 8 can't be the standard.
Yeah, it has to be lower than that.
That's what maybe a 5.
Yeah, maybe a 5. I would actually agree with you there. I would say definitely not 4 or higher. 4 or below depends.
I wonder how many 4 seeds have won. I haven't looked that stat up.
Definitely less since.
We'll get the guy on stats to look that up for us.
But hey, Texas has been playing really good. I think they were definitely underrated. That may be an obvious statement considering that they've won the first two rounds here. Their matchup is against Purdue, which to me is a hit or miss type of team. They're on one day and they're off the other. How they play in a neutral court environment is still undetermined in my eyes. I've seen them win away. I've seen them lose at home. If I'm being, the risky guy that I am, I'm going Texas. I still have resentment for Purdue from the Zach Edey days. So I like Texas. Let them run while they're hot. But if I'm being safe and you want my true opinion, I think Purdue moves on here.
I echo the same comment. I'm going to bet Texas just for fun.
Right.
But if I really want to
What's a unit?
Yeah, but but if I am doing the smart bet, I'm picking Purdue. If they're on, they beat Texas. Texas is not a Cinderella. The 11 seed goes out. It was a good run, but I will be betting for them, rooting for them. Horns up, whatever. I'm still a little bit bitter about USC, Texas, and college football. That was back in like 2000s. Anyway,
moving on to the South, I think this is also, outside of Arizona, Arkansas being the game of the weekend, I think that this first game, Iowa-Nebraska, is going to be the true game of the weekend. You know, all of our Midwest, I know it's not the Midwest region here, but where they're located in actuality, our Midwest boys, who's going to come out of the cornfield top dog. I can give you my take on it.
Well, so I think, go ahead.
I think you know.
Yeah.
I think you know. I'm riding Iowa. The fact that they beat Florida obviously is a gimme for me. I think if they can beat a team of that caliber, then who knows what their ceiling is. But I've been high on Iowa for a while. Still high on Bennett Sturts. I think if they play as well as they played against Florida, if not better. I know that there's an intense rivalry as well between Iowa and Nebraska, especially when it comes to like football. So I think that carries over here. Mm-hmm. It could very well be a coin toss. Mm-hmm. But if I'm leaning gut feeling, which I know goes kind of against betting and betting statistics, I'm still going Iowa. Although Nebraska looks dangerous and they have looked good. You've been high on them for a long time. So I was catching up on PMT, pardon my take, shout out those guys. And they gave me an interesting thought, or they had an interesting thought. Iowa and Nebraska play in college football all the time, unranked, low scoring, not a fun game to watch, but it means so much to them and their fans to, win that game. And for them two to be playing in the Sweet 16, even though neither of them are really technically a basketball school, maybe you can make the argument that they are now. But at the end of the day, like, this means so much to their fans. Nebraska and Iowa, they both travel so well. Yep. I think they'll travel here again. It's going to be exciting. Just for the sake of the pod, I'm going to go Nebraska. I'm going to go against you. Little head-to-head action. It's going to be a fun game. Let's just enjoy it. I'll probably bet Iowa just to bet the underdog and get the plus money. But for the sake of the pod, I'll go Nebraska. If you're looking for advice, I'd stay away from this game and just enjoy it for what it is. I think this is going to be highly competitive and probably somewhat on the boring side until it comes down to the last couple minutes where you never know what can happen. But I agree. Next game, which is probably, or very well could be in other lifetimes, an Illinois-Houston matchup could be a Final Four in other lifetimes. They're put in the same region this year. You got to take here. I have Houston. I think Houston's very scary. I think Houston's playing their asses off. I think that I don't know exactly. I haven't watched Texas A&M through the season itself, but they dominated Texas A&M. Yep. This is going to be their first test, in my opinion. Yep. So I do see it being a good game. I'm not going to be betting any sort of massive spread that Houston has over them. I don't know if I have the spread. It's minus 162. So I bet the spread's somewhere around. No, that's the money line. That's the money line. For so Houston. I bet the spread's somewhere around like 2.5 or 3. Okay. 3.5. I don't know. I think I'm going to go Houston personally. Money line straight up. I think I'm leaning Illinois here. I know that Houston has one of the best defenses right now in college basketball, and I think with good defense, you can really control the pace of the play. But I think, as many people would agree, March Madness is won by guard play, which I think Illinois has. Wagler being their freshman star point guard. I think, if he has a good game, I think they dominate Houston here. It depends if they can hit their shots or not, which you can say about any game. But I think, I'm leaning Illinois here. I also like the 3-2 upset. I want to see more, I guess it's not necessarily a low seed, but I want to see the lower seed out of this matchup move on. Give me Illinois. Okay. And I don't know if we did this, but let's assume we get to Arkansas and either Texas or Purdue.
you have Arkansas coming out to the Final Four.
I just got to, yeah, I think if they can beat Arizona, they can beat Purdue. I think they can definitely beat Texas. I don't think it's the same caliber matchup against Texas.
We're aligned.
Yeah, Purdue would give them definitely a run for their money and could obviously squeak it out. I mean, at that point, we're talking Elite Eight. At that point, anybody in the Elite Eight can win the title. So
yeah. And we're high on Arkansas. Like, we're riding our team.
It's hard for me not to, lean towards the team that definitely has the best guard in all of college basketball, let alone one of the best players in all of college basketball. And I just made the point that I think guards win the title when it comes to March Madness. So
yeah. So going back to the South, I have Nebraska and Houston. I'll have Houston coming out of this.
And I'll have Illinois.
And you'll have Illinois. You have Iowa. So this is where your Iowa team falters.
Yeah, I don't know if Iowa can maintain their momentum going into the Elite Eight. Again, at that point, it'd be hard to doubt them making the run that they had. I think that would be a true. I don't know. Would you call that a Cinderella?
I feel like yes, they are a 9 seed. So I would say they are, based on what we've talked about today, that would be somewhat of a Cinderella story.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to be excited enough to bet on them.
For sure.
And then if they win, we can eat our words here a little bit. Like, Definitely. Maybe the smart pick is Illinois, but like you've been high on Iowa since the beginning. So if somehow a number 9 seed gets to the Final Four that you've been high on,
that might be where it comes down to heart. And if Iowa makes that big of a run, I maybe I'm eating my words right now. I may lean Iowa there too.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna bet on it. If they make it, I think they're gonna bet.
How cool would that be to see Iowa in the Final Four? That would be pretty exciting.
Yeah, and for me, Houston going up against Nebraska. Nebraska's won their first game. They've won their second game. They would have won their third game in this hypothetical situation against Iowa. I have them losing to Houston. Nebraska is a 4 seed, not a Cinderella, but for them, their first tournament wins, this streak that they're going on, I think it comes to a halt going into the Final Four.
Love it. On to the Midwest, the last and final region of our Sweet 16 and potential Elite 8 matchups. Who do you like? Michigan over Alabama. Alabama, who absolutely rocked Texas Tech 90-65 in the round of 32.
I'm going Michigan.
I think you gotta.
I think you have to. Michigan has also dominated. They've had one of the best appearances in the tournament, I believe, in history. I think they're up there in the top 3 or 5 or something like that. I don't know how they exactly do the calculation, but when all the analysts do it, they're like up there. I think they beat Alabama. Kind of think they beat them handily, frankly.
Here's what I'll have to say. I still think Michigan gets the dub, but when it comes to upsets, the biggest trend that I've noticed personally when it comes to upsets is the underdog's ability to hit threes. And I will say this outright, that Alabama is a 3-point shooting team against Michigan, who refuses to guard the 3-point. They play a lot closer D. They let those teams shoot threes and hope they miss, which I think is a great strategy. If a team wins by making threes, then give it to them. I think it's less likely than not that happens. But I could see an upset here only because Alabama's known for threes and Michigan's known for not defending the 3.
So maybe a cover.
Yeah, maybe a cover. Well, I would still stay away from this game. I mean,
I'm gonna stay away from
I would take Michigan outright, but I'm just saying that the matchup aligns in the favor of, for an upset, in the favor of Alabama just because of that alone. If they're hitting threes, Alabama could do it.
Yeah,
they could.
Okay.
But we can leave it there.
Yeah, I think we're aligned. Let's move on. Tennessee, Iowa State.
I've been big on Tennessee this year.
You have also been big on Tennessee. He's been big on like 3 or 4 teams. He's not big on every team, guys.
No.
I promise.
It just happens to be the teams that we've talked about. And those, for the record, those teams are Arkansas, Iowa, and Tennessee.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit big on TCU, but obviously they're not in the game anymore. So
right. I think those were the 4. TCU
yeah, those were the 4.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, TCU had to play Duke,
right,
which they were competitive until the end of that game. It was kind of anyone's game till the second half of the second half there.
Yeah, and then Duke ran away with it.
Of course,
but,
they pulled the Duke.
Yeah.
But what do you have here?
Well, so I think I'm looking ahead a little bit. I'm going to ride Tennessee with you.
Yep.
I haven't been high on Iowa State. They just lost or not just, but they did lose one of their starters.
Yeah, in the round of 64, Jefferson.
Which was a bummer. It was in the first 2 minutes of the game.
Yeah, I think it was sprained ankle for Jefferson.
He was in a walking boot by the halftime.
Yeah.
So I feel bad for the kid.
If he ends up playing, do you think it makes a difference? Or
so here I've seen Iowa State blow a lot of big games.
Mm-hmm.
They've lost more big games, I think, than they have won.
And some at home, too, especially right before the conference tournament.
Yep, and this may be completely naive of me, but I think Tennessee pulls it out.
I'm big on Tennessee. You know I like their defense.
Mm-hmm.
I think they are similar to a Houston where they can really control the pace of the game. I think they play a lot slower, and if slower playing teams end up making their shots, then that's how they come out to win.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they did against Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what they did against Virginia. I've also been high on Jacoby Gillespie for a long time. He was on the Maryland team last year,
right?
Who I was big on. They beat CSU in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, they lost in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
The year before, we had San Diego State, who made it to the finals, right? And Maryland was our team last year.
Yeah, Maryland was our team last year. And I'll just say, although Maryland didn't make it as far as I wanted them to, I still think that was a good pick for me. They have Derek Queen, who's now started for the Pelicans. They have Juju Reese, who's now a starter just recently for the Wizards. I mean, they had 2 NBA starters on their team, along with Jacoby Gillespie,
who's now
who very well will probably be a good NBA player as well. So
yeah, I'm
leaning Tennessee. I have Tennessee now. Originally, I had Iowa State in my Final Four. I have Tennessee in my Final Four. Yeah, obviously they'd have to beat Michigan.
Yeah, and I think that's where I come to. One seed has to come out of this tournament.
You don't think it's Duke? You think it's Michigan?
I don't think it's Duke. We both have Michigan State coming out, and so I think Michigan makes it. And Tennessee had a great run, but Michigan beats them in the Elite Eight.
Nice. Okay, well, that covers our projections for the next 2 rounds. We'll definitely give you a recap as we did today during our next podcast episode. I think it's time that we break down our picks from last week as well as we give our picks for the next 2 rounds here. Let me just find my notes.
Yep.
So last week, personally, I went 1-0 with the Iowa money line.
Great pick.
Matt went 0-1 with the Santa Clara money line pick, which I feel
should have
bad.
won.
Yeah, very well should have won.
Should have won, could have won, didn't win.
And then
here we are.
As much as I was 1-0 in the personal picks, it was my pick that lost the Parlays and Paddles parlay of the week, which was Mizzou over Miami. They just looked like dog water over there. So
yeah, Mizzou was disappointing. I was happy with the Utah State pick. That was a fun one.
Yeah. So that's on me. Hopefully I can recoup some of that in this week's parlay of the week pick. But, essentially we're even on the board based on the outcomes here. I know personally.
Yeah, technically I got a big 0 and a 0.
But that 0's from me. So
we might have to make this look a little bit different. Show picks that lost and won. We'll figure it out.
Hey, every pick matters.
Every pick matters.
So,
all right. Well, what's your best bet?
My best bet of the week for my personal record up here in the top left, I'm going Iowa over Nebraska at +110 is where you can find it at most sports books. We touched on this earlier. I think the momentum that Iowa has, the rivalry against Nebraska, it's going to be a good game. It could very well be a coin toss, but I'll take the plus money for Iowa and put my money in Bennett Sturts here.
All right. My best bet is going to be Houston over Illinois. At the time of recording here, it's -162. Just going to go money line.
I would take it before it goes any deeper there. I think more and more people are going to bet the favorite there. I do think a lot of people think Houston's the better team over Illinois. They've been somewhat rocky themselves. I mean, all these teams have had their moments of weakness, but if you're going to take Houston money line, take it sooner than later.
And I will say, at this point in the tournament, taking spreads to me is a little bit scary if you're not taking alt spreads, but I still think it's scary. I'm not obviously going to, throw you guys a -400 bet here, but Illinois can keep it close. If that spread is 3 and they lose by 1, I'm not about to go 0-2 for that 1 point.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to our parlays and paddles parlay of the week. Excuse me. I'll let you start.
Yeah, I got Michigan State over UConn. That's going to be plus money as well. I don't have it in front of me, but Michigan State over UConn.
And I'm going Tennessee over Iowa State. And you can find that roughly what did we say? It was like 446, something like that.
Two underdogs, somewhere around above plus 400.
So a pretty juicy underdog pick. I know the stats say it's going to be chalky in the Sweet 16, but I think we're looking for the upsets here. So just to recap, I have Iowa over Nebraska. Matt has Houston over Illinois, and then for parlay of the week, we got Michigan State over UConn money line and Tennessee over ISU money line.
Let's win some bets.
And I think that wraps up sports talk for this episode.
Yeah, let's get into some more.
Let's get fishy, man.
Yeah, let's get fishy. Let's get some more outdoorsy in.
This is a new segment we're introducing that's going to be called 30-Second Guide. So this will be a recurring segment, maybe not every episode, but every so often, where we break down a tactic, we break down an angle that we like in the fly fishing industry. And this week, close to our hearts and close to our locations, is going to be the go-to South Platte rig, especially for this time of the year. As you know, Matt and I fish predominantly on the South Platte, that being the Decker stretch. It's the home water, close water to most Denverites. But that place holds a special that place is special to our hearts. Let's talk rigs for the month of March. March going into April, as we spoke to last episode, spring is the time of the year where these fish really start getting active. They get hungry. They're coming out of their dormant states of the winter. And I'm going to break down for you the rig I would be throwing right now if I were to go out. So I, as you can tell from my Instagram handle, nymphing, I'm a big nympher. I would start off with a 2 to 3 fly nymph rig. That probably starting with your lead fly. Probably, I'd go again with a 9-foot leader. I'd probably start with your lead fly being something on the larger side, either. I know we're huge worm throwers, which we'll get into the peg worm later on as maybe another 30-second guide segment. But I'd go worm. I'd go Pat's rubber legs. I'd go maybe Guide's Choice hare's ear, something a little bit bigger and buggier as we've been experiencing nicer weather. I think these bugs are starting to turn a little bit earlier than usual. We haven't had the cold front, at least thus far, that lasts through April, sometimes even into May. We were fishing the Eagle, 2 years ago, and we got plenty of snow there. So it's been a little bit different of a year. But I would go a little bit bigger fly for your lead fly, worm, some type of big bead head, midge, or even some of those stone flies that are starting to come out a little earlier, like a Pat's rubber leg. I know a bunch of my homies have been doing real well with the Pats lately. And then moving down the rig, I'd probably give it about a 12-inch spacing to second fly being one of those, tailwater specific flies, especially for the South Platte. My favorite for this time of year would be a Mercury Baetis. It does imitate an early stage caddis. You could also go caddis pupa. And again, I like any of those tailwater flies. It could be RS2. And then if you were to go a third fly on a triple nymph rig, which be wary of the tangles involved with running a 3-fly nymph rig. You could go Chocolate Thunder, you could go Top Secret, some of those tiny patterns that are going to sit mid column, and I think that gives you a good balanced look for big to small, gives a little bit of variety, and all natural for this time of the year. So those are my 3 fly choices right now. I would start looking in fast moving water. Last time I checked, I think it was yesterday, Decker's flows were at 104 CFS, which is still pretty low. I'd fish the riffles. I'd fish anywhere that's moving or has a little bit of depth. I also wouldn't be afraid to dredge some of the deeper pools that maybe these riffles run off into. And I would start with, just a moderate size to small size split shot, maybe 8 inches above your lead fly, that being the worm or the Pats. and add more weight as you progress through the day. If you're not noticing fish, I think one of the biggest tips I can give you is to put on more weight. Try to touch bottom. I like the saying that if you're not scraping bottom or picking up debris from the bottom of the river every couple casts, that you're not deep enough. I have no problem, windmilling some algae or some plant life off my rig, just to know that I'm deep enough every couple casts. And then I'd ride my indicator probably five-ish feet above my lead fly, and that can vary as well depending on the flows of where you're at. If it's a little bit higher flows, you can go higher on the indicator. Lower flows, you can go lower on the indicator. But that would be my rig if I were to go out fishing today. And I don't think you can go wrong there. I'd say be careful. It's line management all day long. I think the drift is always more important than the fly selection. So make sure you're having good, clean, crispy casts. You're getting, most of that line out of the water. Maybe high stick it a little bit on the drift, and be ready for those subtle takes. And there's nothing wrong with sight fishing. Stay away from the reds, of course. But if you see fish moving into those riffles, probably around the 10 o'clock a.m. mark, when the sun's finally heating that water up good amount and those fish are ready to eat, I'd say that'd be a prime time to hit the riffles. You might want to get there early and hold down the spot until it turns on, because it can turn on in the drop of a dime. But that would be my rig, and I face this a lot with people that I fish with. I think the cleaner the rig you have, the more success that follows. So I would be careful about having a sloppy rig. I would get your spacing as dialed in as possible. And then again, keep those casts clean, and good luck out there. Let me know how you do if you end up using one of these rigs. And I would rock that through the months of at least the rest of March into April and maybe even May. And you can change up your second or third fly depending on what's specifically hatching and wherever you're fishing. And how the weather's looking. But I think you can't go wrong with a worm, number one, mixed with pats. You could even go worm to pats as a second, or vice versa, and then trail with something smaller from there. But mix it up, see what's hitting, and you can always have success with something red and shiny. You could go demon midge, you could go blood midge, you could also go rainbow warrior for that point fly. So, don't be afraid to switch your flies. I think if the fish are eating, they're going to be eaten, and it's more about the consistency of getting those perfect drifts. But don't be afraid to add more weight. I would start with less weight than more. I think it's always easier to add weight than take it off, but don't be afraid to change it up a little bit. And although it was planned for this to be more than 30 seconds, that is your 30-second guide of the week.
More like a 2.5-minute guide of the week. But good stuff. Go out and catch fish, guys.
And we'll pass it over to Matt for a meat of the week.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, super excited. This is a new segment that we're going to be rolling out. So every week, my goal is to smoke a different type of meat, walk you guys through it, post on socials. I'm going to be shouting out a lot of Instagram handles that I've been following along with, the tutorials that I have going on. So I'm super excited. I am not an expert in this. This is a new hobby that I'm picking up. So I'm going to give credit to all the other people who have been doing this for 10 plus years. And this is just something that I'd like to learn.
Yeah, that's a good perspective, though. I mean, people that are intimidated about smoking or may not know everything as well can follow along and follow in your footsteps, and you guys can learn together a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah. Come on the journey. Let's learn together. So for this week, I'm going to start pretty hot here. But I'm going to do it brisket. This is going to be, I believe, the third or fourth brisket. I think it's the fourth. I can't really remember. Some of the stuff that I learned in the past in those first three is start earlier than you think. This is my number one thing. Is I felt
in the day, you're saying?
Yeah, either in the day, or there's recipes where you can put it on overnight and they just are smoking through the night. So you're basically eating by lunchtime. I struggled with this the first few times and I felt rushed at the end. So that's one big tip that I'm going to try and get around this time around.
Yeah, you can always probably lower the temp and make it, stretch out the time if you need to on the back end, opposed to you probably don't want to crank the heat up and try to rush it, right?
Exactly. That's the mistake that I made, is I was trying to get those last few degrees, those internal degrees, to a specific number. And the next tip I have is those last few degrees like take longer than you think. So I started to crank the heat up, and I think it messed up the bottom a little bit.
Okay.
Now it turns out it was a happy mistake because everybody liked the kind of charred
the
parts, barky parts.
Yeah, I love the barky parts.
So it wasn't the worst outcome, but I think starting sooner is always better than starting later.
I just recently watched a brisket smoking little Instagram video, and it had me, prep this question. Mm-hmm. Do you start with fat side down or fat side up?
No, so there's a big debate in the smoking industry. Some people swear by fat side down. Some people swear by fat side up. I watched the video that you sent. It actually makes a lot of sense because what they did was start fat side down and then flip it fat side up. Apparently, science has come around and said, hey, the fat isn't actually going to go through the meat as you're smoking it. Like, that's not a thing. And that's why people have been starting fat side down. So it might be something that we try differently this time.
And that might reduce some of that, like, tougher bark
at the bottom
because you're starting with the fat side down. So that bottom's not, cooking as hot and as fast.
Yeah. And I'm going to be doing the same type of meat throughout. I'm going to switch it up, obviously. This is episode 2. But when I come out with another brisket, we'll try a different episode. We'll try a different technique. So that might be what we try, differently this time. Another tip that I have, you're going to start with trimming. So you're trimming it all, and you can see so many videos on this before mine comes out. So you can absolutely do your own research. But you'll trim all the fat off, not all the fat off, but you'll trim the fat off, put that fat in like a container, and put it in with the brisket and let that fat render, and you get beef tallow. And that's what I did differently in the last time that I brought it over, and you said it was juicier.
It was
juicier because you put the beef tallow over it, like towards the end. You use that same beef tallow, just kind of like drizzle it over it, and it makes it juicier. So we're definitely doing that again.
Okay.
But I'm super excited. Again, be patient with me. Be patient with the process, especially when you go to try it yourself and it doesn't work. Don't be afraid to try again. I will say brisket's on the more pricey side of the meats we'll be doing.
Yeah.
This is more of a...
It's an expensive failure if it doesn't come out perfect.
It's around a 50, 60, 70 buck, depending on the weight, obviously. But we're going to be doing chicken wings. We're going to be doing pulled pork. All kinds of different meats.
And I'm going to have him be smoking some duck, some goose, some pheasant for me as we get into hunting seasons later in the fall too.
Yeah, do it. I'll do it. So yeah, looking forward to the segment, looking forward to the process. Again, look out on socials. We'll clip something. I'm going to basically film myself taking instructions from somewhere else that I've gotten, giving them some credit, and just like trying new things out and trying to get good at this hobby.
Nice. Well, for everybody listening, we won't always be so March Madness heavy as we, laid out last episode. As the season progresses, we're going to get more into an expansive territory for fishing, hunting, smoking, all things outdoors as well. We're just pretty focused on the tournament right now as it's the hottest sport going on right now.
Yeah.
I think we're good to wrap it there. Unless you got any closing words?
No. Again, enjoy the Sweet 16, enjoy the Elite 8, enjoy the tournament. Look out for some brisket tutorials, and yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it.
Where can we follow you on socials, Matty?
Yeah, hit me up on Real Matty Kush, both Twitter, Instagram, pretty much everywhere. So yeah, hit me up there if you want to follow.
And you can follow me at Nymphing on Instagram and TikTok. And you can follow the pod at Parlays and Paddles, A-N-D, Parlays and Paddles on both Instagram and TikTok. And X is Parlays, letter N, and Paddles. So feel free to interact with us. We'd love your comments, takes, suggestions, and we'll get into talking about some of the stuff you guys respond with as we progress here. So thanks for being with us today. That wraps up episode 2, and we'll see you next week for the Final Four.
Thanks for listening.
Bye, guys.